Did something get taken out of it? Okay, that's what it was. All right. I usually only read the agenda once. Calling the meeting to order. Before I read the next agenda item, I just wanted to say to whoever who is listening, I do have a statement from Ms. Jessica Bouchain, but I'll read that when we come back from executive session, once more people are logged in or present. The committee will convene into executive session in the main office conference room pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-4 and 5, for the purpose of the East Province School Department 2024-2025 Emergency Plan pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-5A3. Two, discussion regarding security upgrades pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-5A3. And lastly, to consider and vote on a motion to adjourn and reconvene into open session. Is there a motion to convene into executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Calling the meeting to order. We can start off with the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence, please. There were no votes taken during executive session. I'll entertain a motion by anyone on the committee up here to seal the executive session minutes pursuant to applicable provisions of Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-4 and 5.
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Minutes are sealed. Before we move on to the next item, I do have a statement from Ms. Jessica Bouchain. I will take this moment to read that on her behalf. She states, I wanted to take a moment to reach out and apologize for not being able to attend tonight's school committee meeting. As many of you may know, this past Friday I underwent emergency spinal surgery and I am currently at home recovering. Please rest assured that despite my physical absence, I remain fully engaged and committed to the work we've been doing together. I will be following up on all matters discussed at the meeting, and if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. Wishing you a speedy recovery, Jessica, and I know she's watching tonight, so. Please.
Student Liaisons, Ty Messier, East Providence High School.
Good evening, school committee members, Superintendent Ferrand, Assistant Superintendent Ramsey, and Ms. Corsi. It is nice to see you all today. To start off, our National Honor Society is holding our 10th annual this October. Ms. Alves will be collecting stocks in room 156 for those in need. The NHS is also holding a Breast Cancer Awareness Week from the 21st to the 25th. And we will kick off our EPHS Spirit Week this Friday when we celebrate our 2nd annual pep rally hosted by the 2025 class committee. There will be fun events for the students, such as a penalty kick, musical chairs, a plank competition, and ending with a tug-of-war battle where the winning class will compete against a team made up of our EPHS faculty members. It is going to be an amazing time, and we hope to see some of you there. Spirit Week will conclude at our homecoming football game on Friday, October 18th, where we will have a Pink Out themed game. We ask all of our students and fans to wear pink to show our support for breast cancer awareness. On Saturday, October 19th from 6 to 9 p.m., we will have our homecoming dance. The dance is disco themed, so if anyone's coming to chaperone, make sure you bring your best moves from the 70s. Our annual mattress fundraiser will be held on October 26th to raise funds for our amazing music department. We invite the community to help support our music department by getting a more supportive mattress as well as a better night's sleep. Now our sports. Since we last spoke, our football team has gone 2-0, beating Mount Pleasant in Coventry by a combined score of 60-0. We just held our military appreciation game last Friday, where we honored Mr. Butler, a veteran who served in the Army during the Vietnam War. We raised over $1,700 for Operation Stand Down, which is a nonprofit organization that helps veterans in need. We are now preparing for our next game this Friday against Shea. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. at Towney Stadium. Girls volleyball is now 9-3, ranked 4th in all of Rhode Island. The next game is at home against Prout tomorrow at 6 p.m. Boys soccer is 2-9 with 1 tie. They're playing right now in the Towney Stadium against South Kingston. The girls soccer team is 5-3 with 2 ties, ranked 5th in their division. Their next game is the 11th. Girls tennis is 6-5. Their next game is tomorrow against Middletown. And our esports team is undefeated and ranked 2nd in the state. And that's all I have for you guys today. Does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Consent agenda?
Are there any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda items? If not, I will entertain.
I have one just, if somebody can just.
Yep.
For the construction invoice for the high school.
Is there a particular person you want to ask that about the update?
If Craig can answer that, or Danny, I guess Craig would be the best person.
Good evening.
The construction invoice for the East Providence High School,
Yes, sir.
let us know what that,
Sure. Pull them up. Sure. So first off, we have HSI. So that is $229,000. That is not the full amount. So that is for the wall protection on the 3rd and 4th floor. So they still need to come back and finish up the corner pieces of that.
Craig, I'm sorry, the mic is not working for you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I'm good with the mic, no problem. Okay, so to start off again, the wall coverings for the 3rd and 4th floor, that is for the HSI. The next line item is replay. That is for the 3-year contract for the turf maintenance for the football stadium, and then the 2 fields out front. So those are being paid for up front. That starts on November 1st, 2024. That's covered for 3 years. Washington Music Center. That is the final item from the big music order that we had done. That is for a set of chimes. We've been waiting months for that. And then finally, for the Wally Computer Associates, those 2 bills are related to Chromebooks that were purchased. So that totals $495,119.98.
Craig, just to follow up with the wall covering, do we know when that's gonna be done offhand?
I do not, maybe Director Carpenter knows. I haven't been in contact with them.
So right now it's mainly just punch list. They're just going through and correcting some of the corners that they cut a little short in some of the areas that Steve and I noticed. So they should be done within roughly a week or 2.
All right, thank you.
Tony, any additional questions or comments, or is that? Okay. Anything else from the rest of the committee? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All that say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. Are there any nays? Okay. Next item, please.
PTO, PTA, EPLAC reports.
Would you like us to, there's going to be a full presentation for this, no? Okay.
Show the slide towards the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you hear if I do it like that?
No. Sorry.
It'll be up and close. Okay. Good evening. This is Logan, our chairperson. I will be reading off our report for today. We had a great first meeting of the school year on Tuesday, September 24th. And we had a great attendance. We had about 24 people there, so I'm really excited to see some more families attend. We do like to always share our Tell Us Something Good with you all, so you can hear everything that's going well. And that's one of our favorite parts of our meeting. So we are going to highlight, so we had the Hope and Faith Drive. They are working with Silver Spring Kindness Club. They're decorating bags for lunches to be passed out. They're also making comfort bags for the East Providence Police Department. Leslie and Tina went visiting the schools throughout the district, and they noted that the ELC students had a great first few weeks. A mom of an out-of-district student said that has been the best start of the new year in a while, so she's very grateful for that transition. Another mom had mentioned that the inspirational chair team with Miss Karen Scarborough has been a great inclusion sport for her child, and that they cheer the second game of every junior townies football game. We had a report that Oldham has been successfully integrating more inclusion into the ELC and pre-K program. And then we had a report from White Neck that the inclusion students are excited to work on their social skills by visiting all classrooms to collect attendance and lunch counts. They love interacting with all the classroom students. At our meeting, we gave a short presentation about EPLAC, who we are and what we do and how we support our families and you as well. We did have a number of correspondence items, which will be included in our minutes. We had our subcommittee reports where Pupil Personnel Leslie Anderson gave a great presentation on our new website, which was amazing. We love all the new resources that are available for our parents to access. We also had Jessica come from the school committee, who was our liaison, and we do wish you well. So we were thankful that she was able to introduce, Tony was there as well, so she made everybody's names known and how to get a hold of you all. And then our new business is still going to continue with our membership drive, trying to get more parents involved. And we have a workshop schedule that we're going to share with you. We have coming next month, we have a workshop on dyslexia and DLD, which is on the screen behind you. We do have a wonderful resource here in East Providence, Kendall Martez. She works with the Friends Academy out of Dartmouth, Mass., who's coming to do a presentation for anyone in the district that would like to come and attend. In November, we're going to have a safe space classroom hosted by another one of our teachers here in East Providence. And then in January, February, we have the IEP and 504s workshop. And then February, March, we have the trauma-informed care and de-escalation workshop. And that is it for our report. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions from the committee?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Ferrand.
Before our Director of Facilities speaks, just want to say again a big thank you for giving the committee the opportunity to go on that tour and give us the very detailed walkthrough of the ongoing projects at Waddington Elementary, Riverside Middle School. We are still going to continue our part 2 and potentially part 3, depending on how well we cover the other projects. But I just wanted to give a shout out again for our Director of Facilities for being able to work with our schedules and giving us
No problem,
the
anytime.
details.
So good evening. Here's the facilities report for this month. So here at the high school, the installation of the 2 big fans in the chorus and band rooms have been completed by O'Neill Electric. HSI continues to install the corner guards on the 3rd and 4th floors, and punch list is being worked on. I've been in contact with Cape and Island Track, and they're reviewing the cracks on the running track. I'm awaiting the results of what they feel is a proper fix in their part versus what the district feels is the best corrective action. And the work on the issue is still ongoing. Covers for the sinks at the high school will start to be installed. We're awaiting delivery from M&G Plumbing Supply. At Francis, installation of 2 new boilers has been completed by Next Gen Mechanical. The startup and testing is to be completed next week. At Silver Spring, the repairs to the windows have been completed by Lockheed, and they have moved their operations over to Orwell. The repairs are slated to take 2 to 3 weeks to complete at Orwell. We received a new dishwasher at Silver Spring, and our plumbers and electrician will be working on getting everything hooked up properly. The outdoor classroom project is being worked on daily and should be finished up in the next few weeks. At Riverside Middle School, Collins Construction has completed the media center. The furniture has been moved in. Offices are being set up, and it will be ready for students and teachers soon. The walk-in freezer refrigerator project is going to be ongoing again once the concrete pad is installed. The RFP has gone out, and the bids will be before you tonight for award. Project completion is now slated for the middle of November. At Martin, the topping off ceremony was held on September 19th. The beam with the signatures now stands atop of the steel skeleton of Phase 1. Fireproofing material and the enclosure of the outside of the steel framing is priority before the winter months. Shawmut is making the push to have everything enclosed before the cold sets in. Concrete has been being poured on the slab on grade and also the slab on deck daily. Metal clips are being installed along the outside of the steel framing to accept the studs to create the outside walls. Underground work continues daily, with planning for a Phase 2 prep work and logistics ongoing also. Some other district notes: I have begun acquiring pricing on new fencing to surround the administration building. Pricing for a new roof at Oldham Elementary is also in the works. I would also like to thank Dan Borges and the DPW for their help at Hennessy Elementary School with patching a large asphalt area in the teachers' parking lot, and with their help of cleaning the woods area along the fence line at Riverside Middle School. I have the Orwell Courtyard irrigation breakdown. So we had 2 plumbers, which equals 8 hours. It was $100 in materials, and we will be looking for a credit on our final invoice from Central Nurseries for the amount. That's all I have. Any questions?
I mean, while you're here, does any committee members up here have any questions for him regarding the Riverside Middle School concrete pad RFP? It's under the action items, but I wasn't sure if, because that's related to facilities, if you guys had any questions regarding that, just tossing it out there.
Do you have an update as to when the new dishwasher up?
Our plumbers are actively working on it now. The electrical might take a little hiatus because our electrician is set to be out for a few weeks. So I would say early November would be the date we would have it completely 100%.
Can you maybe talk a little bit more about the fencing project surrounding the administration building? Spend too much time in back of the administration building. However, is that fence actually on our property, or is that part of the properties that we abut to?
So when I had priced it the other day, I had priced the full fence. From looking at it, the way the fence faces, it seems that the fence along the back of the administration is possibly Elmwood Dodge, and the small section that runs up is possibly owned by McDonald's or partially the Volkswagen dealership. So I can call over to those 2 places and see if they either want to work with us with the fence or if they're willing to replace the fence, because we've had a lot of kids from the high school going under the fence, over the fence. It's been a problem. So we're trying to look to combat that. But if it's obviously somebody else's fence, we're not going to go that route.
Essentially, like the fence, would it be like a complete like takedown and then replacement of the same type of fence?
It would go to an 8 foot. That's what I expect. 8 foot black chain link to match what we have over here, just taller. It would have a top and bottom rail, full schedule 40 pipe. I think it's roughly 220 feet.
Action would be to acquire some quotes on that project and then present them to our neighbors to see if they want to either
Right. Exactly. Yep. Right now it's just getting a number.
When you do get the number for both that and the Oldham Elementary School roof, could you get that information to us?
Yes. So the Oldham Elementary School roof, we had quoted a while back. It was around $1 million. So I'm looking for an updated quote on that. The fence quote did come in at 48,000 and change.
Danny, I just have to make a comment on that. Before we go further with that and it comes back in front of us, can we just get a quote to put the gates over at White Neck and over at Hennessy?
Absolutely.
Because this is where sometimes I lose track of what we're doing. We have two elementary schools that don't have fences or gates on wide areas. That the one at White Neck, we've been waiting to get that done for almost 10 years since we did the playground. But here we have $48,000 to do a fence behind administration building that we don't even have kids in the building. I myself went under that fence numerous times. Not want to say how many times we went over to go to McDonald's. That's been a 60-year problem over there. You know, I would be more concerned about if we can secure two elementary courtyards with some of this money and maybe just research putting in the bottom railing at that fence. I mean, I know it would look beautiful, but I'm looking at more of a security issue for two elementary schools. Whatever the difference would be, then maybe just get a quote to put a bottom railing on that.
Mr.
along
Ferrera,
that whole area.
the money for the high school, the administration fence is coming from the high school bond. So the money to do those elementary schools would have to come from capital. I mean, we can definitely get a quote, but it's not the same pool of money. And the reason that we're looking, as our director of facilities said, it's a safety issue. We're very concerned with the condition of the fence. We watch kids hop over it on a regular basis. We actually get an alert every time they hop the fence with the cameras, and it's dangerous. We've seen kids getting, hung up on it, and we've secured the gate to McDonald's. They cut the gate. They cut the fence over at Scott the other day. So it's just been an ongoing problem that we're concerned with the safety of students. And I know they've been jumping it for a very long time, but I just don't want to see someone get hurt.
At that point, would a newer fence be any less climbable? Because I just want to make sure, like, an 8-foot fence does sound more dangerous than a 6-foot one, particularly if you get to the top and you're
So we
hanging
would
off
put
it.
slabs,
We
Yeah,
would scrim the fence on our side, so it would be harder to climb, like we did at Orlo with the black scrim. So I mean, we possibly could do that to the existing fence. It would be a lot cheaper. It's all the feasibility if it's our fence or if it's Elmwood Dodgers fence. We're still in the process of finding out whose property it actually is. We've gone through city plans and things like that, trying to find the property limits. So it's still ongoing.
we'll still get a quote on the two elementaries, but I just wanted to make you aware that it would be a different pool of money.
Right, so the question I have, Sandy, with this pool, that's the pool of money we're talking about is the leftover from building the high school.
Part of the bond money, yes.
At what point are we done spending that?
We are done spending that. Like, these are all projects that have been allocated, so we haven't added anything to that since, I don't know when the final approval was. It was months ago.
Springtime, I think.
Yeah. It's getting through, the things that were allocated by the building committee.
Well, that's the issue with the building committee, because we're in good standards to turn money. I don't want to say it's etched in stone, the $3 million to the city, and then turn that back for capital improvements. But we need to know where the $83,000 for the Where is that $83,000 going?
Back into the capital amount.
On whose side? Our side or the building committee side to reinvest it?
We're not spending any more money. The building committee is looking to close out the project.
All right, so can we have some final numbers soon with that? Because I thought that the snow machine was part of the 17-item wish list from the building committee.
It was.
Okay,
But the school committee is the ultimate authority, so if the school committee doesn't approve it, which you did not, then that money doesn't get spent. That piece of equipment is not being bought, and so therefore that money would go back into what's left over of the bond.
Correct. So my next question would be, is if Craig could call the city to see, could we turn over 3.2 million or 3.4?
Whatever's left will go
That's what I'm
back.
saying, because
Yes.
if that's the
That's
question.
already been in
Yes.
discussions though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, because
about getting that money back so we can at least use it as capital.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, you know, like, in other words,
Correct.
the more, because every bit we save now, we get the 50, 48, 51% reimbursement, you know? And like I said, Sandy, we just seen that, the student or whoever climbing the fence when we were coming in today. I actually have pictures of kids climbing over the fence to get into the football. So I think,
It's just the condition of that fence. If you have an opportunity, just take a look. It's
Rusty,
rusty.
it's
There's barbed
old.
wire on part of it. It's just a concern.
a nice
And it's
community-
very
a nice
tempting.
community project for about $2,000, we can take care of this and add $46,000 back to the capital improvement and turn that into about $85,000. It's all about, we're in a world of dollars and cents now. It's a shameful thing is, and the shameful thing is, we don't have the dollars and we don't even have the cents no more. You know, so we have to really start looking at, you know, how we can accomplish the same goal as possible. And that's, Danny, you know, I commend you, and like I said, if we can look at the railing along the bottom, if we can do some kind of community to paint that fence if we need to, anything like that would be a big help, Danny.
And it's all in the feasibility if it's even our fence.
Yeah, yeah.
So if it, in the long term, if it's not our fence, I mean, then it's a whole
Yeah,
nother situation at that point.
And I did look at it, Danny, and we talked about like years ago, just so, whatever side the railing is on, the fence belongs to the owner.
Right.
Because by law, back in the, 50s, 60s, and 70s, you had to put the chain link to your neighbor, like a wooden stockade fence.
Right.
Your neighbor got the pickets, you own the railing. That's the delineation of who owns that.
Exactly.
Right there. Thank you. And Danny, I lost my train of thought. Just one more question. On a paper for all the irrigation breakdown, is there going to be $1 for our two plumbers when we bill them? Because there's nothing
Yes.
on here.
Yeah,
We
we'll have a
$100
breakdown.
is just for the materials.
Yeah, that was just the materials. We'll have the hourly breakdown on
But
there.
we're going to
On the invoice, yep.
All right. And Danny, I just mentioned last time, if we can just try to put some, I know it's like a lot of the projects are start dates and end dates, so we can hold, the contractors more.
Yep,
so,
no problem.
The start date and end date, that'd be excellent. And other than that, Danny, if whatever punch list that is already completed, if we can just get that to the committee so we can see what these companies are doing, how big of a punch list, just if we need to use them again, we got a good range of what type of work they did for the district.
Exactly.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any additional questions for our facilities director?
Thanks.
Good evening again. We continue to keep a close eye on our expenditures for the remainder of the fiscal year. As you review the financial report, you'll see that some of the accounts where we are over budget year to date. While some of the areas of the budget are over, we do have some areas like our special education out-of-district placements in the 55,000 series, where we have encumbered the full expense for the year. However, we know that we have students that have aged out or that have moved out. And so we know that there's going to be savings within those line items, but we're not going to know that until this month when we start closing out the all the purchase orders. Excuse me. In terms of the revenue, we were banking on additional state aid last year for this year. However, as you know, that did not come to light. That did not come through. There are some movements in the revenue section to still happen over the next month, such as building rentals. We have more Medicaid reimbursements from the administrative claims from the last quarter, and as well as the month of October. So we still continue to keep a close eye on things. When I report to you next month, we'll have a better sense of what the year end will look like, but it will be very close for us. We're going to continue to be keeping a close eye. And just to report, so we have the only expenditures that we have been approving have been the medical expenses, any grant expenses, because all of our title grants are moving through. So we have grant expenditures that are happening. We have medical expenditures. And then if there are any requirements in the IEPs for students, we need to ensure that we are complying with those. So we're making sure that all of those expenses and needs are being met as well. That's all I have.
Questions for our Director of Finance? Comments?
Craig, I just have a question for you. Is there any way you could send us a weekly update on where the city is with trading out this money? That's extremely important. It's extremely important that they fulfill that obligation.
In terms of, are you talking about the high school project money?
Exactly. Like when we
Sure.
when we give them, you know what I'm saying? Like I just want to make sure that if it doesn't happen, the finger don't get pointed back to us, that they waited for this, they waited for that, and the deadline went back.
Sure.
There were some council people that are very, very adamant that this is going to go through for us. I know they're waiting for some information. I just want to make sure that somebody can confirm that they received all the information that they requested, and we have some kind of document.
Okay.
That down the road, if this falls apart on us, which would be a shame, because we'd lose a lot of money back in reimbursement, I just want to make sure that we don't get held saying, we didn't get this, we got this 3 weeks later, something, Craig.
Absolutely. I will
I'd
put
appreciate
I
that.
will put something together and make sure we send it out.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions or comments?
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Policy Committee report.
Following up from our last meeting, first read of the health and wellness policy, I feel like we did a really good job going through this. There really wasn't much in terms of requested by the committee. Further questions last month, or questions that may have arose after being able to digest this for a second time?
So is there anything that's been changed since the first read?
There were really no areas. There was a clarity question about changing, applying a designee next to the superintendent. Maybe it's page 6, 7, or 8. These aren't numbered. And really, the note was the superintendent has authority to override the wellness policy for the purpose of teacher-to-student acknowledgements and incentives at his or her discretion. It was something to be highlighted. I felt that it was appropriate to keep it in because I feel that it has potential for that to get muddy if there's other designees, if things are changing in and out. And I feel confident that the communication between our superintendent, our principals, is open. Where for that type of a question for an override, I think that could be a really clear line of communication. So it's still in there, but outside of that, I didn't have any other notes, and that was just suggested language to change. So no, it's very similar to what was presented at the first read, based off of our conversation and the overall reactions. Like I noted last month, this policy, the major changes in here are really the application of the Rhode Island general laws, federal government dietary guidelines that were missing from the policy as the last revision before this one took place in 2018. A few typos
gonna
also
say-
that got changed as well. There was some, I see Dr. Ferrand nodding her head, but yeah, there were some typos that were changed.
I like the little changes that were made, but I initially already liked what was already presented. So I don't really have much to add besides I like it. Any additional questions or comments regarding the health and wellness policy?
And I mean, I'd be remiss also to not give, another public sign of gratitude to the team, all of the members on the Health and Wellness Committee in our district. There was major input by every one of them on there in shaping this over the course of the majority of last year. A lot of work, a lot of additional workshops outside of meetings and conversations that took place. So really grateful to be a part of that team. And to be able to have worked alongside of them. It was some really great thought and conversations that went into this.
Comments? Next item, please.
Report.
Good evening again. Can you hear me? Okay. So at Martin Middle School, some of the project milestones, phase 1 of the steel erection has has been completed. Updated plans were submitted to RIDEM and RIPDs. They're currently awaiting an estimate for the revised site plans. On site, the concrete slab on deck is being poured daily. Clips to accept the steel exterior walls are being installed. Drainage installation and backfill is ongoing. Electric and tel data duct banks are being excavated and trenched for installation, as well as the gas service. And concrete pours are expected to be finished early next week. And the grease trap is set to be placed on Wednesday. Some project milestones at Riverside Middle School. The media center has been completed and the furniture has been installed. The fire and building inspections have been completed and passed this past Friday and yesterday. Punch list is near completion and being finalized. And the Commissioner of Education toured the project last week and was extremely pleased with how it turned out. Project milestones at Waddington. The punch list for phase 1 has been completed and closed out. 3 different designs for the water mitigation issues are being drawn up by the design team. And warranties for the phase 1 project will carry throughout phase 2 completion. That's all I have.
Questions?
If you can send us out the punch list, even though whatever punch lists are done or are not done, if you can send them to this committee.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and one other thing that you might not have the answer, but have we been able, I know they've been working Saturdays at Martin.
They've been working selective Saturdays at Martin.
Pouring
With
the
pour-
decks, yes.
pouring deck.
Have we picked up any time, have you known, Danny, you might,
What?
from the delay that we had, where we were behind, are we trying to, have they picked up any, like a week or two maybe?
We've picked up, what, about 3 months?
Yep.
So we went back from January to about
November.
November.
So our plan, as of right now, our plan is to move the middle school in after Thanksgiving of next year. And then the completion of the pre-K would take place April of the following year, but we wouldn't move in until fall of 2027. So we did pick up some time.
Given next year?
Yep. Yeah, because the pre-K, it's actually so 2025 Thanksgiving, right after Thanksgiving, we'll move the middle school in, which will allow them to begin demolition on the part of the building where the middle school currently is. And then the pre-K will be completed in April of 2027, but we won't move students at that time. So they would move in the fall of 2027, the pre-K. But the building should be complete right now, April of 2027.
Right, they're shooting for an April completion of 2027, but it doesn't make sense to put the kids in there from April to June. So they'll start fresh in September.
We're still hoping they can pull back some time. They have made really good progress, so we're continuing to watch that. But the sooner we can move the middle school in, the sooner they can start the demolition and get the other part of the building completed.
All right, so Sandy, the worst case scenario, if we're gonna flip them over after Thanksgiving, but if we had to go into after Christmas, because there's not much of a big swing there. My only problem that I have, and I'm gonna say it is, we're not gonna have another scenario on time, another budget, because that's not gonna happen. Still got issues in this building that we're dealing with that if it was a private sector, there'd be a whole load of trouble coming, but where it's a public sector, everybody believes what they want to hear. Just as the superintendent, you should have a lot of to say, you know, we'd rather use the 4 or 5 weeks, really fine tune, get it done, flip it over like we did way back in the day from the old junior high to the.
Yeah. That's an option. They did give us that option, but they believe it'll be ready at the beginning of November, which will give us 3 weeks before we get to Thanksgiving to start to move things, to start to let students and teachers tour so we can do like emergency protocols. And so, but with the final move and students going into the new part of the building after Thanksgiving break. But I mean, we're still continuing to monitor where they are, but that's our plan right now.
And Sandy, maybe if you can answer the question today, like, well, we're gonna put all them safety covers underneath all our sinks. Was this addressed at Martin before we get there, or?
Yes,
This
yes.
is what,
Yeah.
There's been a lot learned from this
Yes.
building. So
really?
at Martin, we're going to put full countertops with a full cover underneath that encloses all the plumbing itself. Pull down
That's
cover.
what I'm saying, anything we
Yeah.
can lose from here,
Like a-
clean outs that we neglected
Yeah.
to put.
Cleanouts
We'll
are
talk
in,
about that the other
valves, the kit covers.
Nice.
We're looking at possibly going back to manual flushers over battery powered things,
That
so
was
they're not
gonna-
pulling wires.
See, those are
There's a
some
lot
of
of things that we're going back on.
Those are some of the things, Sandy, that I don't want to point fingers, but I'm going to hold you responsible. But the amount of money and effort that we're dealing with these automatic flushes, rebuilding them, putting them back in, what is the feasibility of stopping it if that's what they had planned at Riverside? It didn't work in the high school. Let's drop back and utilize.
Yeah, Danny has been discussing that with them.
We've been
come
going
up
back
at
and forth
our
a lot.
OAC meetings, but some of it is New England CHIPS requirements too. So we have to.
A lot of it,
balance.
like, if you'd like to go to just say a straight manual flusher that
Yes.
they have in Martin now, it doesn't fall into the CHIPS requirement, uses too much water. So we're trying to get the next best thing, like the ones that we've been replacing the high school here with fall into it. So we're looking to better what was
Yeah, but-
installed in here.
If I
And
may also add, a part
feasible
of it
things.
too, a part of it too is you can only plan for so much. You can't plan for kids flushing unimaginable things down the toilet. You know,
Right.
like that's kind of where the balance comes from. Like, unfortunately, we had to learn from kids misusing toilets out of all things, and bathrooms in general. So unfortunately, we do have to adapt to that. But understandably too, like, no one could have predicted people wanting to flush the things that they're flushing down that they shouldn't be too. So there's
Right.
so I understand that portion too, that we couldn't have expected the things that we expected with the bathrooms in the
Everything that
same school.
we've been dealing with here is definitely being looked at, and nothing is to be overlooked there. I can tell you that.
But we got, Diddy, not to, but we gotta stay on the same page. I agree with what you say, but to a certain point, clean outs are part of a code. They weren't put in this building that were not even under drawing. A clean out, you're not supposed to have to, granted, you're right, putting potatoes down the toilets, which happened here, vending machine bags down the toilet would happen here. The flip side of the coin is we shouldn't have to lift a toilet off the floor to address vandalism, where the code states we should have clean outs in the bathrooms to snake these problems out where they were never put in here. So granted, right, the kids that vandalize our bathrooms is one issue. Putting things in the junior high that was not put in this building that should have been put in by code is two different things. Clean outs and all these things that cost us a lot of money, pulling toilets off for the last 4 years, snaking toilets through the floor versus unscrewing a clean out and sticking it down there is two different things. That's what I'm saying, they did
Oh,
that,
yeah.
they did that to save money, but we're really not
Well, it
saving
wasn't just
money.
the money portion, it was also trying to become a, more of a green building too, that's why the high school ended up winning that, I forget what the award was called, but recognizing our decrease in water usage. So there's a balance, right? We want to be green in certain areas and not waste as much water, but then we should be able to address, issues with our toilets, should and when accidents like that happen with vandalism, of course. So.
In the plumbing code, it's
Yeah.
in the plumbing code itself. It actually states that you are to pull a toilet off the wall, and that actually becomes your clean out in code. It's a horrible thing to have in the code in my eyes. I agree with fully having a clean out. It makes your life a lot easier, because when you go to snake it like that, then it comes out of the next toilet and
toilet,
destroys
exactly.
the toilet. So it's a bad write-up in the actual code, but that actually is in the code. So having no clean outs actually is legal. It's not really a great thing to do, I will say.
Right, what I'm saying, because we're adding them into this building now 3 years later.
Right.
Well, if, rather than add it
Or
3 years
something.
later, let's add it down the road when
Right.
the time comes.
Right. Yeah, I have all the provisions for everything in Martin already with clean outs, isolation valves, anything to, all the way down to the univents to stop possibly each room instead of cutting off a whole zone of the school. We're looking at doing that. Cuts are going to have to be made here and there, the amounts of things. So we're working on everything
Excellent.
accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
One other thing. So I was unfortunately I had to peel off of last week's tour, that you provided after Waddington, and looking at these photographs of the completed media center. I was curious if you could just or maybe better fit for Dr. Ferran, what's a vibe check, from student body and teachers. It looks really awesome.
Yeah.
Something I'm extremely proud of, and if I was a student there, I would feel extremely proud to be there. So I was just curious, is there how's the reaction from the folks who are utilizing that media center?
Yeah, so the media center, the books are just starting to go back on the shelves. So it wasn't completed until
Yesterday.
Tuesday, Wednesday of last
Yesterday
week.
we got the occupancy with the fire department.
Yeah, so, everyone's seen it. It looks beautiful. We're starting to occupy it and get books back on the shelf. There's been great feedback on the science classrooms. We walked through all the science rooms with the commissioner, and teachers are thrilled. So,
That's great. And, moving forward, if possible, or, to kind of provide an update after a project's completed, or even a month or two past completion, to just kind of provide that feedback in terms of how it's being received, I think would be really helpful, especially for future project planning, and to be able to make sure that, we are delivering on the promises that we make to our student body and our teachers.
I know the teachers and students are dying to get in there.
Yeah.
They're looking at it now, and all eyes are on it because it's new and
Yeah.
gleaming in there. So as soon as they get in there, I can definitely give you some feedback.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Danny, one more quick question.
Yep.
Because Riverside, was a nice school before we did this project. It's an unbelievable looking school now. But are we supplying our guys with any new modern cleaning equipment to keep these? We're spending massive millions of dollars, and are we supplying a group of guys with modern cleaning equipment, backpack shops and stuff like that with all the new carpets in there, professional window washing equipment with all the new glass? Or are we just running around with a spray bottle and?
No, so we have an extendable pole window washer,
Yep.
and we just acquired recently some new battery-powered backpack vacuums to do the auditoriums and the carpets.
That's what I'm saying. So we're
Yep.
gonna leave them in the schools that we,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
excellent.
Riverside actually just got brand new stuff.
Yeah,
We're in Wilkingham.
engrave them, Riverside. Is
Yeah, they're not
because
going
somebody
anywhere.
borrows them, they'll never get back there. So if we could paint them whatever color, that's blue or something, so it don't get jacked from them guys. Because that's important when we invest this kind of money, to have our guys maintaining at this level for the next generations to go through that building. So
Agreed.
thank you for that.
No problem.
Questions or comments for the Director of Facilities? All right, next item, please.
Discussion items?
We have the virtual learning plan for 2024 through 2025. The committee was informed today that there was no changes at all, right? You said no changes to the virtual learning plan, but the state does require us the school committee to review it and approve a new plan each year. That's the requirement, so that's why it's before us again, even though there's been no changes to it. But does any member have any questions or comments regarding it? I know we didn't get it till recently, but it's the same one from last year, so. Needed a refresher on anything?
Yeah, Dr. Ferran, I know, a few weeks back there was some communication that I was a part of in terms of students feeling disadvantaged by not being allowed to take Chromebooks home from school. And I know that some students do take them home, some students don't. Is there specific language, policy language, maybe outside of this plan, that just identifies when and where and who are making those determinations? Whether that's is it principal by principal, teacher by teacher, like school by school? How does that go, and where is that identified that is accessible?
So it's not a policy, and this is the first year that we've kept Chromebooks in the classroom again since COVID. So classroom teachers, if they have an assignment that the computer needs to go home for, it's at their discretion whether or not they send it home. So if they're assigning work, they should be sending the Chromebooks home. If they're not assigning work that needs to be done on the computer, then we're keeping the computers in the classroom.
So it's fair to say that there would be no disadvantage for students unable to take their Chromebook home in terms of, they have assignments due, or if there's fear of, a school cancellation and they wouldn't have their Chromebook because they weren't allowed to take it home, there would be no, punishment or, issue because they didn't have it. That would be like the policy set up in the specific classroom.
Right, because if a teacher is assigning work on that Chromebook, it should be going home with the student. On a weather day, we always pretty much know snow is coming at some point, usually a few days in advance, so we would definitely send the Chromebooks home with them if there was a prediction of snow or, the possibility that we'd switch to a virtual day.
I just have a comment on that. Cindy, just a follow-up with that there. I did talk to you about 2.5 weeks ago, and it's basically what you said. Where I get confused and frustrated is when we went to meet the teacher last week down at Riverside, I went through 5 or 6 or 7 classrooms, and 2 of the teachers basically said, because they did a really nice presentation, a couple of parents had asked, how are we going to track this if our student, and the teacher actually said, it's up to the student if they want to bring the Chromebook home. We have some kids, when the weather's good, they don't want to put it in their backpack if they're riding a bike, but most kids that ride a bus, so when I heard two of the teachers say this, it was a total contradictive of what the principal had said and you had told me 2.5 weeks earlier. So I think there's a breakdown somewhere. How do we rectify this breakdown? Besides us making a policy, how can a principal be saying one thing and then the teachers are telling the kids?
That's a good question.
And
I don't have an answer to it. I mean, I can speak with the principal at the school. I mean, we have, this was a teacher and principal initiated decision. We didn't make the decision to purchase the Chromebook cots and to keep the Chromebooks in school. It came from, their desire, because we would see huge lines in the office trying to get loaners. We didn't have enough loaners to provide every student that either came to school with them not charged or forgot them at home Chromebooks for the day. So then you're missing out on academics during the school day because you don't have your computer and we're out of loaners to give you. So it came from that. Like I said, it came from them not being charged. It came from a lot of the Chromebooks being broken. The usage at home should be for academics only. They're not personal computers. They're property of the school department. It was said to me, well, all the parents purchase insurance. Just less than 10% of our parents have purchased insurance. So 90% of our computers that are out there a month ago were not insured. So when they're broken, we do say parents are responsible for paying for them. And some parents didn't appreciate that. So, we're trying to balance all of it, making sure that students have them when they need them in school for the work that they're doing in school, and then when there's assignments at home, being able to send them home so that they have access to them. The last thing we would want was a student not to have access to what they need. So this is new. It's only been a couple of months, so, we're still figuring out when they need to go home and when they don't. But I will follow up with that.
Just Sandy, could we just research, could the district buy I know we don't have, I just said earlier, we don't even have change.
We have 5,300 Chromebooks in the
So what I'm saying
district.
is,
So
because
it's,
at the end of the day, in other words, if a policy says one thing, whether I like it or not, I have to go along with my committee and vote the way that I feel. But to hear that out of two teachers,
yeah, and
because now you got, the following day, one kid says, well, I didn't get to bring mine home. Well, my teacher said I can. It's up to, we just want to try to avoid that there,
Right.
on that there. So that was, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to tell you what class.
no, I know you're not going to tell me, but
Is this a
I'll
scenario
look into
where
it.
like policies needed, so that there is a clear flow of communication? Policy to act as a guideline, whether it's the determination is coming down from the principal, or the determination is coming down from the district, or the determination is coming down from the in-classroom teacher.
Something we can explore. We can ask around to other districts and see if they have policies on their Chromebooks.
If other districts are doing this same thing with where some teachers will allow students to bring Chromebooks home for assignments, and others it may just be at their own discretion?
Yeah, well, it varies district to district because not every district is a one-to-one district. Some districts don't allow them to go home at all. Some districts, every student takes them home. So it really does vary district to district.
Sounds like just a good place to, I guess, start is to just relay the information again, touch base. The next item we have on here is legal services RFP. I just have an update regarding this, especially because we've had scheduling conflicts, so we weren't able to schedule an interview with the whole committee for legal services. So we're going to try again and convene and see if there are any potential dates that will work for all of us, especially because Jessica just had surgery. Again, all of us have very complex schedules, but just wanted to give that as a reminder. Again, we have been working on this since, I think, February of this year. So it has been a work in progress, but an update on that. Any questions regarding that? That was all I had, but not. Next item, please.
Public comments?
We have Tori Jessup Crowley.
I did sign up for something else, but if I can just quickly say something, what you were just talking about, those Chromebooks, it has been kind of like same scenario at my own home. So you said that the Chromebooks are the property of the school department, and you are requiring us parents to have the insurance, although my child is not, you don't require. You don't require. I know you're not supposed to talk back and forth,
We suggest
but-
it,
okay.
strongly
Because
suggest it.
I
because it's
strongly did not
inexpensive.
renew mine because she was told she could not bring it home. So I'm like, why am I insuring something that she's not bringing home? But to what you were saying, the discrepancies, what is the disadvantage is my daughter now has a lot of missing assignments because she has executive functioning issues and she's not able to complete them in school. She's told she can't bring them home. Yes, she does have a wind block, but it's not enough time. So we do need some guidelines and guidances because she feels obligated to keep it at school and does not have that self-advocacy just yet, and will just listen to what the authority tells her to do, which is what we want our children to do. So that is the disadvantage, I can tell you from personal experience, okay? I had a quick question on the emergency plan that you are approving. I didn't hear any discussion on that, but I completely understand if that is protocol for security reasons. And then quickly on the Riverside Middle School trip, I just want to throwing it out there, equity on both middle schools where we have one going to Washington and one going to Boston. We had this issue years ago when one was going to Boston and the other one was going to PA. So I just wish that we had equity in both schools on that. So on a flip note as to why I signed up, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your support for Dyslexia Month in October. I thank you for that newsletter that you put out there. I thank the City Council for this week is actually Dyslexia Week here in East Providence. And I know that later on for the announcements, you'll announce the Weaver Library program that's happening on Saturday for game day, next Wednesday's City Hall event, and then the Friday of the State House. And if anybody wanted any other information, they can go to our website of ddri.org for Decoding Dyslexia of Rhode Island. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Action items?
First, we have, actually, before we move on, because I just wanted to add one thing. Regarding the security, we can't go into that, which is why we didn't have a discussion item, but I did want to just give an FYI to parents that are listening. Information regarding, any safety procedures or drills that are being conducted or any terminology is included in the newsletter that's sent from, is it the principal or the overall district?
The terminology was the September parent newsletter.
So, so keep an eye on newsletters, especially because that will include information specific to your child's school sometimes, or overall the district, any updates that they have as well. So that's just a heads up as well. Regarding the first item that we have a consider and vote to approve the executive assistant's school committee stipend. We have proposed a raise, of course, for our executive assistant that works for not just the school district, but also works for the school committee as well. So that is additional responsibilities, as well as working for the building committee as well, making sure she's present and taking minutes as well. Not sure if anyone has any comments or questions regarding that first item. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Are there any nays? Next item, we have a consider and vote to approve the health and wellness policy. That's up for a second read. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Policy is approved. Are there any nays? Next is consider and vote to approve the East Providence School District 2024 through 2025 emergency plan. Is there a motion?
Make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Are there any nays? Next item is consider and vote to approve the 2024 through 2025 virtual learning plan. Are there any questions regarding that? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
It's approved. Are there any nays? Next, we have the Riverside Middle School concrete pad RFP and Riverside Middle School concrete pad 5 and 6. I wasn't sure if there was a presentation regarding that. That was included in our packets. We also got an explanation on it on the walkthrough, but I'm not sure if any committee members have any particular questions or comments regarding this before I ask for a motion. Is there a motion to approve number 5,
I'll make
Riverside
the
Middle
mo-
School concrete pad RFP? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. And next we have to approve the contract for the Riverside Middle School concrete pad.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Are there any nays? Okay, and lastly, we have the Riverside Middle School trip to Washington for May of 2025. That was also included in our packet. Do we know at all if there's talks of any other trips for Martin Middle School? I know last year they kind of accommodated and did. I think it was New York City or Boston.
Going to Boston.
They're going to Boston? Okay. Was that's always organized by people in the school though, right? By interest and whoever's available to organize it? Okay.
Just a question on that, Jen.
On which one?
That's what you're saying, on the trip, that's like they fundraise and all of that, so that has nothing to do with taxpayers' money.
No, it's all,
Where one school does 110% to go here.
Nope.
Thank you,
it's all personally fundraised.
thank you.
If there are no additional questions or comments regarding that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Riverside Middle School trip to Washington.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Approved. Are there any nays? Lastly, we have announcements. Patrick, if you could please put up one of the slides, and then that gives me a chance to. So this one is for October 16th at 6 p.m. There's going to be a lighting ceremony at City Hall. It's for Dyslexia Awareness Month. And again, thank you, Tori, for sending us the flyer so we can put it up for everyone to see. So feel free to screenshot it if you are watching. And if you could show us the next flyer, please. And this one is Family Game Day at the Weaver Library on Saturday, October 12th at 11 a.m. Again, thank you to Tori for sending us the announcement flyer as well. Are there any additional announcements from the committee? Sure.
Danny, I had mentioned this to you on Friday, but I just personally want to thank the guys at this high school. They've done a phenomenal job cleaning the outside. Sandy, I want to thank them guys. It looked like it was planted yesterday. They did an unbelievable job, Danny. So I personally want to thank each and every one of them. Thank you.
Any additional announcements? Just a heads up to the committee. Sharon will be sending out just another invitation, not an invitation, a request for dates for interviews as well. So just a heads up. This time we'll kind of include some dates that work in general, and then just let her know if it's a yay or nay for any of those. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Tony, are you a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Have a good night.
Thank you.